To be honest, I never sat down um, to decide that this was how my life would pan out. I think I went along with my life. You know, it's like writing a book. You don't decide for the character, you allow the character to decide for you, right? You are just to follow instructions from what the character is telling you within. So I studied philosophy to start with, and that is a story for another day why I had to do it. Again, it's with regards to the advancement to the major seminary. So I thought that philosophy was the place to start. Then from philosophy, it was a 3-year degree. I did an honors degree in political science. I wanted to at least put some praxis into the ideas. You know, philosophy is where you just look up and ask, why are we here? Why is there something rather than nothing? But subsequently, I did political science. And then, of course, I knew that I've always been inspired by happenings in my environment. And by environments, I mean Kaduna State. You know, from a very young age, you know, we fled to the military barracks, you know, during the 1992 Zangon Qatar crisis. The 2000 crisis got me in high school, and Miss Wall and so many other altercations with other ethno-religious groups. So I was of course inspired by things happening in my environment, and I felt the calling that I needed to do something about it. If I can't come back and intervene practically, then at least I could do so. I could shine my torch from a distance through ideas, right? So I think that inspired, after my political science degree, my degree in conflict transformation. And that was when I got into the Boko Haram phenomenon proper. At some point I was being called Boko Haram because of that. I never thought that I would ever leave that research. I got into Boko Haram when Boko Haram wasn't really a thing from 2012. So from my conflict transformation degree, I wanted to work for the UN like every other person, I guess. And so one day I was in the library and wondering, if I can't work for the UN now with my undergraduate, maybe the UN has a school somewhere. Can you imagine? That idea just got to me. And I went to the internet, United Nations University, and the headquarters at Tokyo just popped up. And I was like, okay, the UN actually has a university. And I saw that the deadline for applications was in November. So at the time it was June. So I waited. November, and at the time it was paper application. I got all my papers together, put in an envelope. I remember I was going to the post office. One of my classmates was like, "Bang, what are you up to again?" Then I showed her the address. She was like, "Japan? What is happening in Japan?" I said, "Well, we will see." And we saw, right? So that was how I got there. I got the scholarship to do development, sustainability, and peace. And I was there for 2 years plus. And from Japan, I was like, okay, I've been touching peace here and there and conflict. Now let me get proper into peace and conflict studies. Because, you know, at the level of PhD now, you have to specialize, so to speak. So then I did peace and conflict studies for my PhD, and here we are. No, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm book smart, to be honest. I knew that I had that a little bit. Like I said, I'm not the most outstanding of students, but I had something I could use. But I also probably have been fed the drive. I think there is a drive within me that keeps me restless, like St. Augustine, right? Our soul, my soul is restless until it rests in you. So that keeps me restless until I've accomplished something. So there is that drive, you know, within me as well. There is a wisdom, I think, too, that I've been blessed in deciding certain things. I've made terrible decisions, by the way, in my life, right? But I'm happy for those terrible decisions because they've also taught me a lot. So the book smart, I don't think is enough. I think at some point I realized that it's not what life was about. And I needed to come down from my head to the heart, right? Or to find a way to combine both. To live in the heart for me is more important than, you know, all the intellectual exegesis and analysis. I'm spontaneous. At the same time intentional. I allow life to happen to me rather than dictate, you know, what should happen. So that would be my work ethic. I listen to what, you know, I'm a spiritual being, and I hear when I'm supposed to do something. I feel it, and I don't joke with it, right? It may be that I may take it lightly, but over time I will get it done. So I allow things to speak to me. Could be nature, but like I said to you, I never took my studies lightly. I knew that God had blessed me with some level of, understanding in terms of book understanding, but also with some level of wisdom that I could apply to that as well. So I knew that it was my gift, to myself first and foremost, and then to the world. And so I think the important thing with life is that you find, what you are about, and then you give it out, right? So giving it out has kept me going. The more you give, the more you're also kind of equipped or re-equipped by the gifts, So that would be my work ethic. It's just a sense of awareness of like just the disciplines that I mentioned to you I studied. I didn't necessarily plan that I would study all these things, but they came to me at the time they did, and I had to go with them, But like I also said, there were times when I had to, bend on the table and do the work, write the articles, right? And make all the sacrifices. And indeed, I made a lot of sacrifices. I wouldn't necessarily say they were sacrifices because there were things that people at my age were doing that I didn't really find useful, right? For my own aim, it could be, okay, let's go to a club. I've been once or twice for research purposes, but I enjoy what I do, and that is the important thing. You don't find something that is outside of your passion. I think if you can, you do something that you're passionate about, like they say, then you don't have to work, right? It's also tiring. It is also demanding. But once you know that it is your responsibility and that your calling is to serve and you are a worthless servant, then it keeps you going. You have nothing to complain about. You've been given this, and you should have no reservations about giving it away. I think my spirituality, like I said, I believe in God, and I feel that God speaks to me every now and then, and He leads me. And sometimes He leads me by showing me the Word, by showing me people. He has brought me very close to the people that I needed in my life, my mentors, my lecturers, my deans, and so on. And these were people that modeled to me what it means to be a great teacher and to be a human being, right? My parents also, my dad, for example, would always tell me to be a good ambassador of Lenak and of the Meangwa family, right? He would always say that while giving me a rosary whenever I'm traveling, and they were all part of my journey from the get-go. And I think another thing my parents did with me was the freedom they gave us to think. My parents never imposed anything. The only imposition was probably even go and sleep, like they did not impose it, but you have to go to school at least, right? I think that was the only imposition. You have to, and they didn't even need to impose that. So they gave me that freedom to decide what I wanted to do early on. You want to be a priest, we'll support you. You don't want to be a priest, we will support you, right? Either ways. And for that, I'm very thankful for the wonderful people. And I always said this, I think my gifts have been people, to be honest. My gifts have been people. I don't know what I've done to deserve the love that I keep receiving, from people that I've met everywhere, to be honest. And this has been touching and has been keeping me going, to know that there are people out there who look out for you, and also, people that you should look out for in turn. I think my fulfillment comes every day, to be honest. I feel that everything I've set out to do, even the things that I've not set out to do, that in a way God has provided those opportunities for me through my preparation. And I cite from the scripture a lot. When Christ will say, prepare, you do not know the time. It's not necessarily about the end of the world, right? It's about the opportunities that will come your way to better yourself and add to the kingdom, right? And so for me, with my preparation and with those opportunities that I've been blessed by, I feel that these have been the key really for bringing me to this moment, such that if there is anything I cannot do, maybe it's not the time yet. The time will come for it. Sometimes things come to mind, and in one way or the other, they manifest over time, right? For me. So I do know that what I'm doing now, I'm teaching political science. Something else could happen in 2 years, and I might end up doing something else, and I'm open to that. So at this moment, I am fulfilled in what I'm doing. I wouldn't say anybody should be like me. I would say people should grow up to be the better versions of themselves. Keep growing, keep improving. You can always be better. And don't be set back by disappointment, right? The colloquial saying that every disappointment is a blessing is indeed true. It has been true in my own situation. If there is anything you know how to do, exhaust your energy and everything, pour everything into it. It may not bring you money, it may not bring you fame, but it will keep you going. I think it's the only thing I'm saying.